Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy.
We'll show you how some farmers are preserving their land from development in 2016. We'll also show you how to cut back your lilacs in your garden. And we find out why trees are big business for the Commonwealth.
Welcome back everyone. We all can agree that preserving farmland from development is a good cause. As Dave Miller reports, there's one program in Virginia that's been making progress for the last several years.
The Virginia Department of Agriculture has helped to preserve almost 10,000 acres of farmland on 68 farms in Virginia since 2008. That's when the first state grant was issued to help local governments purchase the development rights on certain farms.
The Office of Farmland Preservation was established back in 2001 to address a couple of things that the Census of Agriculture was showing. One of those was the aging population of farm families throughout the state of Virginia and the inability for young farmers to find or access farm operations and farmland. The other option too, the other reason that we were farmed was the dramatic loss of farmland and forest land throughout the state of Virginia over the years. And that PDR program is really in place to help local governments who have already demonstrated, perhaps through their comprehensive plan, their land use plans, that farming and agriculture is important to their history and to what the locality is. To allow them to preserve that land.
Wayne Kirby owns 2 Century Farms in Hanover County. A Century Farm is one that has been farmed continuously by the same family for more than 100 years. The farm on his mother's side dates back to 1903. The other farm on his father's side, where he grew up, dates back to 1877. The 2 farms are within 3 miles of each other, and in a county where more suburbs are being planted every year, he's pleased the PDR program exists.
Once it goes into asphalt and concrete, it's in asphalt and concrete. It hardly ever reverts back to farmland. And as someone who loves to farm, we have to have land to do that. We have to have land to produce the food and fiber that so many people that we commingle with, work with every day, don't understand the concept of what it takes to where that comes from. It just, it takes raw dirt.
Each year, PDR grants are distributed to local governments in a bidding process. 21 Virginia localities have PDR programs, and landowners apply to their local government for grant funds. These payments may be used by the landowner for a variety of purposes, such as forming a trust, paying future taxes on land, or to help buy additional or new land for farming operations. The sale of development rights for certain parcels of property are generally permanent.
A lot of folks think land conservation is something they'd like to do one day, but a purchase of development rights program actually provides funding to do it today. And that's something that can make it financially viable and feasible for working farm and landowners to consider conservation easements. And the funding that it provides is really a way to give them resources to put back into their farm, into their operation.
The PDR program was developed more than a decade ago with the support of the Virginia Farm Bureau and other ag groups. While this program is helping preserve land in high-growth areas, any landowner can enroll their property in a conservation easement to permanently set it aside for agriculture or forestry. You can learn more about land easements at the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation's website, dcr.virginia.gov.
I think the preservation program is turning the tide. I think that is a way of protecting it because forever's a long time. So I think it's a I think people need to really put a lot of thought into consideration and understand what it is that they're doing, what they're doing. But I absolutely agree with the program and just think it's a good way to preserve some of this open space farmland.
This year, the Purchase of Development Rights Program awarded Virginia localities almost $2 million in grants from the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. The investment is sure to pay big benefits to agriculture and to the environment for years to come. In Hanover County, Virginia, this is Dave Miller.
The average age of a Virginia farmer continues to edge upward. According to the Census of Agriculture, the average age of a Virginia farmer is now 59.5 years, up from 50 years ago in 1978. That's one of the major challenges to keeping as much land in agriculture in the future as possible, since as farmers reach retirement age, many of them have no one to take over their operations. Another program run by the Virginia Department of Agriculture is the FarmLink database, which seeks to connect would-be farmers with producers who want to pass the reins.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, I'm going to talk about renewing or rejuvenating your lilacs. Stay with us.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they'd worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, but the original promise remains. There's a local Farm Bureau in every county of the state. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Visit our websites at farmbureauadvantage.com and vafarmbureau.org.
Pruning lilacs is an important step in ensuring that they will bloom well. Mark Viette has some tips for us in the garden.
A common question we get on lilacs is, my lilac is not blooming as well as it did when I first planted it or after the first 3 or 4 years. This is a real common problem, and I'm really talking about what I call clump growing lilacs, or these are the lilacs that have lots of shoots coming out of the base of the ground. So you can see lots of stems. You're going to see young stems. You're going to see older stems. You might see some stems as tall as 20 feet, and the diameter might be 5 inches. So what happens as the lilac gets older, the flowers are always usually at the tips of the lilac branches. So as the lilac gets older and grows, what happens is those flowers are 15 feet or more in the air. First thing is, when you have your lilac with foliage, it's hard to see the flowers because the flowers are hidden. They're way at the top of the tree. In addition to that, what you find with lilacs and the flowers that are at the tip of the stems, and the tips of the stems are near 10 or 15 feet tall, is the flower trusses, and these are the flowers, tend to be short and fat. So you have 2 choices. You can, by hand, over years, selectively prune some of the older branches, and these are the large old branches that you see here, and that takes a long time. Or you can go in one time and rejuvenate your lilac. And if I had to pick a time, it would be right before flowering, but some of us want to enjoy the flowers, so we could do it after they flower. So you have February, March, April, May, and if they finish flowering at the end of May, you can also cut them then. But ideally, I like to do it right before growth starts. And what you're going to do is you're going to go in and severely cut this lilac. You want to retain, and if you look at the base of this, you're going to see lots of young shoots coming up from the base. That is what you want. As always, when using any kind of equipment, power equipment or hand shears, always be prepared in a safe manner with what you're doing. As you can see, I've tried to cut these down as low to the ground as possible while maintaining these nice young shoots. Keep in mind the fact that I've cut away 99% of this shrub. There's going to be a lot of shoots coming up year after year. So you want to thin those out every so often, each year. And it's easy, just with the hand pruners, come in and just prune some of those to the ground so there's not too many. Within 3 years, this one's probably ready to flower anyway, but within 3 years, this will be about 3 times as big, and this one branch will be filled with multiple flowers. So you don't have to wait long. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Do you love Taco Tuesday as much as we do? Carissa Jackson shows us an easy homemade taco recipe next in the heart of the home.
We're on Oak-McGee Dairy Farm in Amelia County, Virginia.
Our great-grandfather moved here in 1898. They started milking cows, I think, in 1902, and been milking cows ever since.
The farm involves my father-in-law, mother-in-law, my husband, his brother, and our 2 boys.
You get to see and get the knowledge of the generation ahead of you, and you get all the education and new ideas from the younger sons behind me.
And I feel a real connection with the land I work every day, and being able to work with my dad and brothers and uncle and grandfather.
You know, we plant stuff, you like to see it grow, build up a good herd of cattle, and think you accomplished something.
You can see the profits of your labor on a daily basis.
And we really take pride in what we do, producing a wholesome product for the consumer.
I am Larkin Moyer, a 4th-generation dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
After several years of higher prices, beef is a good value in the supermarket these days. Cattle prices have been dropping the past year thanks to a combination of factors. Market demand for beef, especially high-value cuts, is down as brokers and consumers worry about the state of the U.S. economy. Strong competition from the hog and poultry sector is helping bring down beef prices. More efficient cattle production and a strong American dollar are also hurting beef exports, meaning we have a larger supply at home. All of which means this winter could be a good time to enjoy some beef in your meals.
How about a little spice tonight for dinner to heat you up during these cold winter days? Former Miss America Carissa Jackson has a delicious recipe for easy taco skillet in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Carissa Jackson for Heart of the Home, cooking at the kitchen at Meadow Hall at the Meadow Event Park. Today we're going to be making a Southwest taco skillet. To begin, we're going to start with a little bit of olive oil at the bottom of our frying pan or skillet. And then we're going to add 1/2 chopped onion. And we're going to start to let this brown. This is one of those recipes where you can either use it as a vegetarian option, or you can sub in ground beef, which is what we're going to do today, or you can also sub in something like ground turkey. So whatever meat you want to use for your taco skillet, or no meat, it's up to you. And then what I like to do is place all of my onions towards the outside of the pan. And at this point, if you are choosing to add meat, we're going to go ahead and add our meat. So here I have 1 pound of ground beef. We're going to start to let that brown on the bottom, and then we're going to incorporate the onions into it. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of cracked black pepper and salt. Now that our beef is brown and our onion mixture is all in here as well, we're going to start to add some of our other ingredients. One of the wonderful things about this recipe is the fact that beef can be found all over the state all year long. It's one of the top farm commodities in the state of Virginia. So to begin, we're going to add 2 cups of brown rice. If you were using white rice, this cooking time would actually be reduced by about 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and fold that into our ground beef and onions. And then we are going to add 1 can of diced tomatoes. And reduce our heat to medium. Then we will add 3 ounces of chopped and pitted black olives, 10 ounces of pico de gallo, one can of black beans drained and rinsed, 4 ounces of our taco skillet sauce, and about 2 cups of vegetable broth. And all of the ingredients that we have here today have been provided to us by our friends at Relay Foods. And once we get everything added into our skillet, we're going to let this cook on medium until about all of the water has been absorbed from out of the skillet. All right, once we get to this point and our liquid has been absorbed by the rice and the rest of the mixture, we're going to go ahead and add about 1/2 cup of chopped green chives and 1 cup of shredded cheese. And we're going to fold this in to our mixture. And one of the things that you could have done while you were waiting on your mixture to absorb the liquid is decide kind of what you want to serve this with. If you want to make some tortilla chips out of tortillas that you may already have, you can put them in the oven at about 375 for 10 minutes. Or you can serve these right on top of a taco if you like, or you can just eat it right out of a bowl. It's really up to you. So once our cheese has melted and been evenly placed all throughout our taco skillet, we can turn our heat off and then we can get ready to serve. And here you have Southwest Taco Skillet. I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org. Visit the Virginia farm that produced an American legend. See the birthplace of 1973 Triple Crown champion Secretariat, now a Virginia Historic Landmark, at Meadow Event Park. Our Hoofprints of History tours are given year-round by reservation. It's a perfect day trip for families, groups large or small, and anyone who loves horses and history. Resident author-historian Leanne Meadows-Layden conducts the tours and shares behind-the-scenes stories about Meadow Stable and its most famous son, Secretariat. Meadow Event Park also hosts the annual Secretariat birthday celebration at the Virginia Horse Festival each spring. Visit Secretariat's birthplace at Meadow Event Park.
Virginia's forest industry has a multi-billion-dollar impact on the state's economy. Now, while this crop may not be harvested every year for landowners, it offers big profits.
People don't always pay attention to our forest lands, but if you look beyond the trees, Virginia's forests provide the state with a bounty of benefits. Trees provide renewable energy, wildlife habitat, soil health, local foods, and clean water. Trees purify the air we breathe and support an industry that employs more than 103,000 Virginians. State Forester Bettina Ring says forestry can be fascinating.
If you think about our economy here in Virginia, I mean, for me, the trees and the forests provide economic, social, ecological benefits. And so if you start with economic, $17 billion toward the industry per year, over 100,000 jobs because of trees and forests. If you look at the ecosystem services provided by trees, wildlife habitat, water quality, other benefits such as that, over $9 billion, just to put a dollar figure on it. And we're still discovering new things that are coming from trees that help with medical research. It's really exciting. And now they're even building skyscrapers out of trees. If we look at, from everything we use every day, paper, pencils, as you mentioned, furniture just around our homes and our workplace, trees are everywhere.
Ring says the natural resources and materials provided by the forest are essential to our way of life. From biofuels to timber, forest can provide sustainable sources of important goods, and Virginia is benefiting from their strength and vitality. Virginia is also committed to protecting and sustaining our forest. That includes providing a high level of management and protection to maintain this resource for future generations.
Here in Virginia and in the U.S. across the Southeast, we have very sustainable forest practices. We also carefully monitor our forests. So through the forest inventory analysis, we actually, for the past 70-some years, we've been looking at our forests, what's growing, how much we're cutting out there, what they're doing to contribute to the climate that we have here in the state in a positive way. And so we have a really good handle. We have a large number of forests.
The U.S. Forest Service reports the forest industry owns less timberland than in the past. Many times, landowners have had questions about when and why they should harvest their trees. To help in the decision process, the Department of Forestry suggests that landowners answer these questions. Have the trees reached a size and age for their peak potential maximum value? What are your goals for the forest, and will removing the trees meet these goals? What will the forest look like several years after the trees have been removed? What laws and regulations cover removing trees? Ring suggests landowners use a private forestry consultant once they have decided to harvest timber from their land.
And especially if they're going to harvest, we highly recommend that they work with a private forestry consultant to actually do an inventory of that, to help them with timber sales, to make sure that those contracts are being followed properly. Then you'll have obviously loggers involved in the industry that's purchasing that timber from them, and you want to make sure the landowner is getting the very best price for their timber.
After the harvest, it is important to continue using a professional forester for reforestation. Most areas will have moderate to poor soils and will require replanting to produce high-value timber. Landowners can receive financial assistance through the cost share program sponsored by the state. These programs can help pay a percentage of the cost to reforest.
We, working with the forest products industry here in Virginia, have a cost share program that helps contribute to landowners being able to reforest their lands. And it's been very successful, been in place since 1970, really important. And the state, in addition to industry taxing themselves for this, the state also tries to match that. And so we are able to plant over 40,000 acres of trees each year because of that fund.
With almost 16 million acres of trees, forest land represents 63% of Virginia's total acreage. That makes forestry an extremely important part of the state's culture and economy. To learn more about managing timberland or the state's forest industry, visit dof.virginia.gov.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer, whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape. We are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia.